you misplace your keys and that kind of situation. How people respond to that actually affects their overall health. One of those things that as you find that the person defaults blames someone else, you actually have better long-term health issues with things like dementia. So because you're blaming someone else for your problems, it literally reduces some of the load for it. And so, yeah,
It wasn't my fault.
exactly. It's like there's some very serious and very positive health things that come with blaming other people. I didn't do this. This is that. It is. It is.
Some people are better at it than others.
Yes.
We should talk really about like hating yourself for all the bad things.
No.
That's true. If those were my two options. Yes. Let's see, we need to both open. I need to show this. Okay. No. Next. Up. Spotlight. Yay. Okay. Get the spotlight going. I know. Yeah. We're into. How's everyone doing today, by the way?
It's almost the weekend.
It is almost the weekend. Would you do me a favor? Start a sign-in sheet because it's cold and our attendance looks low. So let's do that. I might go through it, but I don't have the energy. You admit all. Well, yeah, and that's the thing. It's like, you're not going to be here. That's fine. Yeah, Zoom is an option. You're not doing either. Yeah, like now it's time for that to start staying a little bit. Some things we need to talk about. Stuff going on right now in the world that you need to be familiar with. Let's see here. Probably the only thing that I know that's going on in the world right now that I thought was really interesting pertains to maps. So if I said maps, you could like anything spatial, it's like maps.
That was not my fault.
That was not your fault. That was my fault.
Something you might want to pay attention to because it's not a good sign. Chinese companies and maps. There's at least two companies, Chinese companies, who produce maps that are publicly viewable. Both of these companies have made changes to their maps in the last few days. They removed one small country from the map. Okay. that might be one of those signs you want to start watching just on the social side, because companies in China are governmental companies. They will reflect the policy standards, they will reflect government there. So if they're starting to delist this, it's like, what does that mean for likelihood of war? You probably want to start watching that. Because that's not good. So something to keep in mind. Where did we leave off last class? Because I don't remember.
Yes.
We moved into sex crimes. We started talking about, let's see, it was rape, sodomy, those types of things. I'd identified basic elements. I'd also start identifying a little bit where you can see ideologies kind of seeping, where it's like, hey, it's like, you got a phrase in here that's judgmental. What the hell is that doing in statutes and acts of legislature? It's like, yeah, you get that in a little bit. Excellent.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. And then I'm gonna write down people online.
Can you wash my hands, guys, please?
Yeah, please.
No, stab yourself with my pencil and it's not my fault.
I am not a party to this crime. I am not a party to this crime.
Yes, it was my pencil, but
I
not my
supplied
actions.
material goods, but I did not bear any responsibility. All right, now I've got everybody. Excellent. Today is the first. Okay. So we had moved into let's see, share screen. This is screen one. Let's share that one. Yeah, off towards the back. Yeah, where's my chat at? There, okay. Move this back here so I can see it. All right. So we'd started talking a little bit about some of the history. Forceful rape. We'll say 1970s and after. We had a bit of a talk about that aspect of it, right? You have the social dimensions of people and relationships, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. We also have, it's like in the 70s, it may be mentioned in this, I don't remember off the top of my head. I think it's Furman v. Georgia is the case that actually dealt with the death penalty associated with rape. Basically, that's the one that says that, hey, if it's not proportionate to the crime, we can't use that as a punishment, and this one isn't. That one, I got citation correct, it's the rape of a child. So it's like, yeah, it's like, that's one that's particularly egregious if you get that. Yeah, you're guilty, death sentence. Can we as a society do that? Supreme Court's like, nah, it's not proportionate. So no. We have changes in how we address it. We'll stick with history for right now. I think that's what we'll do. So the next kind of element up there kind of deals with this. Elements of forceful rape and sodomy. It says right there, common law aspect of it was you had to be female. Right? You're not female, go see statutes related to sodomy. Right? Because that's what you're talking about here. Maybe. For the most part. That has changed. You'll see that we are look at the statute that says both male, women, male, female, no matter relationships, that kind of stuff. So from the outset, for a relatively recent history, it's like you're only talking about females for this whole class of crime. Not quite accurate at all. So there have been some changes. Next element, penetration. There's a couple of discussions we had related to that. First, the threshold is any degree, right? Why is there a discussion about that topic? Why would that be a topic that needs to be discussed related to this specific crime? Any number of things you want to put in there. Degree of violence associated with it, degree of violation associated, or maybe it's a discussion of, that's a social one. Right? Just a tip. That's not a loaded conversation, right? That's one, we'll actually have to discuss that to some degree because of the next item. Consent. That's the big ticket, right? Consent is the leading issue on this topic at the current time. Why? Because it's something very, 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 very difficult to navigate. We'll get to that in a second. Where this comes in is you cross this with that consent. Is it rape? If this is the agreement and you don't abide by that agreement, has the crime taken place? Yes? Okay, good. Okay, so we're starting getting consent. That's excellent. Right? Yeah, this is a violation. I'm going to talk social stuff yet. We're going to talk consent. Consent. Okay. We'll talk about it and then we'll talk about where we find ourselves in society right now. All right. Consent. What is it? Okay. Agreement. Nobody online is saying anything yet. Okay. It's just an agreement. Maybe. Okay. Ooh. Let's say. Qualities of question mark. Ooh. And enthusiastic, freely given, star. We'll come back to that one. Okay, what else?
Context around the agreement?
Yeah. Context. Matters, yes.
Like sounding mind.
I would say like clear words, like clear, like understanding words.
Clear and unequivocal. Okay. Enthusiastic, freely given, context matters. Sound mind, it's kind of gonna fall into context again. Clear and unequivocal. Okay. Consent. Under duress, threat, nor do some people have. Okay, so context matters. Here's where you can probably put in, okay. Duress, question mark. You guys remember what duress is, right? Yeah, there you go, the manipulation side. This is one that's created by other people, right? You will do this or else. Okay. necessity? Can you give consent? If you're in a situation where it's necessary? Can you be in a situation where it's a necessity? Okay. This can occur. Can you consent? Yes or no? If you're in a situation where necessity demands that you commit said act, oh, there you go. Back into the context. Okay? You guys got quiet there for a second, so I wasn't sure if you're going into context or if you're trying to think about where I'm going with this. Necessity. Okay? Where am I going? Relationships. How much do relationships matter to the context of any of this topic? Anything involving anything sex-based at all? Yeah, it's like, most people don't do that with complete strangers. Some do, it's like, that's fine, no judgments. But this is gonna be a heavy element of this, right? Okay. How far and how much weight in that relationship is given before this? We'll just play with that element for a second. Okay. I'm not gonna ask this question, but I want you, this is a rhetorical question. How many of you have been in any type of relationship with anyone? Right? Now add time. We'll say, we'll do something kind of extreme. We'll say 4 years, right? At some point in the course of that relationship, maybe the topic of sex and necessity comes up. Is it necessary to maintain that relationship? That's not always a yes, not always a no. It varies quite a bit depending on specific relationships, right? At that point in time, is that relationship dependent on said physical action? If it is, if that's the only thing that's holding that relationship together, is at that point, can you still consent, or is now your consent to remove? Because if you say no, that relationship's over, and maybe there's something associated with it that's gonna have some significant effect on you and your life situation. Just wrote dollar signs up on the board, right? Talking long-term relationships, people have incomes, those things start to mix, those things start to get really hard to manage. It's like, okay. What I was curious about why you got quiet with this one is because this is negotiation. This is negotiation. This is not. Agreements can have some aspects of negotiation. If I do X, you do what? You like Y? We do what? Whatever. Sensitivity we put on this matters to a great degree, but we're still figuring out where those lines go. I can give you some very specific examples, right? Okay. So this one was posed in the course of maybe reproductive unit, your standard traditional pair bonding kind of situations. That's only one type of relationship. Say what? Oh, you should go to that classroom, take a picture, and be like, we're still here. And then it's that way that it's like, oh, now I'm letting you down.
Yeah.
when we were talking about, assaults and battery, the thresholds for that, you start getting into relationship territory very, very quickly, right? Simple, single touch crime. Touch people every day. Most people, when you contact somebody, over the course of a day. It opens you up for battery. This one's a bit more controlled because it's like, we don't go into sex stuff very often, which is great because it's deleterious. But if I said this relationship, employee and employer, ooh, that's a different relationship. And you get this there. Yeah, power dynamics come into play very, very quickly, right? And you might find yourself right back here, duress and necessity. There's too much weight in the power of that relationship for this at all, right? Still people do it. Messed up. How far is this kind of issue, which we're really talking about that power dynamic? How much of that issue is going to be underlying consent at any given point in time? And how much do we want to recognize? Because it's a constant, right? We're talking power dynamics. How many people are actually equal? Zero. We're all different, right? These things will change. If I said, ooh, here's a good one. This one comes from my youth. A president and intern. Right? Talking Bill Clinton. Yeah, it led to his impeachment and such. He lost out of that position. Didn't destroy his life. In today's world, if we were to look at this at all, where the hell would we classify that? Is that just, yeah, you had some moral questions here, or are we right over here? You don't get any more powerful than this. Literally. Right? That's just one example of this. Extending throughout the entire thing, right? It's gotten to the point where you start seeing some weird things pop up. I'll show you some of that stuff. Here's where things start getting interesting. How far does it go? That was last year. Right? Now we're not just criminalizing this. Now we're criminalizing what you won't necessarily know for several weeks after. Yeah. We'll do this one. I mean, I'm still. Let's see if it loads. Frankly, I'm using too much bandwidth, I guess.
No, the internet has been really slow today.
Nice. Let's see if opening it in a new window makes it
It
move
took like
faster.
5 minutes to connect to the internet today.
Yeah, here we go. Oh, that's one. That's from an old discussion. There's another one. That one relates more to pregnancy. That's Pennsylvania. That's a different state. Father's liability for unwanted pregnancies, crimes, shooting. Oh, that's the abortion thing. That one's from last year too. It's like those two. I should really revise that. Probably deal with both these back to back. Okay. So that's some of it. Where else might you see it? Let's make that a little bit bigger. A little blurry. This is actually a public service announcement. I think this one was out of London, if I remember correctly. Jake was drunk, Josie was drunk, Jake and Josie hooked up. Josie could not consent. The next day, Jake was charged with rape. Takes a single day to ruin your life. It's like, no, it takes a series of bad decisions. Series, right? Anything funny with that? They're both drunk. How can we hold one party liable and not the other? How do we know who the victim is and who the offender is? Is there anything that speaks to that here? I mean, he looks kind of shifty.
Just whoever felt
Is it? I'm glad I'm not in your generation. Because I don't know how you guys deal with this. Right? From the outset, you're dealing with something that's like this, and it's not just here, it's actually worse. What do I mean? If you pay much attention to the stuff that goes on the social side related to this, you'll see high profile incidences. You've all seen high profile incidences. How bad is it? How dangerous is this topic? Okay. Mentions here can destroy your life. It's like, yeah, that's part of it. There's more than just that, though. Probably the best example I've ever seen. Mattress Girl. Oh, I had T one down. Best known as a political activist, performance artist, college student, developed a national reputation. Who cares? Rape allegation. Here we go. Columbia University, April 2013. Filed a complaint that they had been raped by another student, found not responsible. Talks here. Okay. Insufficient grounds for reasonable suspicion, so no further criminal charges. NYPD was dismissive, mistreated. Okay, I don't care about that. Where does it talk about? It just talks about her stuff. What they're talking about here is she spent the rest of at least that final year, carrying a mattress to show. It's like, this is a very visible symbol of what exactly happened to me. Everyone knows exactly what happened to me, and nothing's being done. Pretty shitty situation, right? Okay. Text message. Text of Mattress Girl lawsuit will shock you. Okay. Okay. Here's where jilted love interests, deep obsession, turns into hatred, STD, blah, 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 blah. And very explicit messages, things of that nature, right? I'm not gonna spend a whole lot of time going over that because that's just gross. Now, what is the point of that? Here's the point. Erase. Time and evidence. Okay, there's a few different discussions to have there. Right? Evidence is key, yes, but realize I'm not talking about one side. I'm talking time. The evidence thing a second. Okay, time. Time's a very funny thing. It really, really for this, it should be pretty straightforward, okay? When we start talking about consent and time, what is the relationship there? When is consent given?
Or like, when does consent like expire too?
Yeah. Both given and expiration. That's why I'm so glad I have one now. Yesterday was the anniversary of my wife and I's first date 19 years ago. There might be people in the room who are younger than that. I don't know. I'd have to go back and check that. It's like the relationship's often about who does. Anything sex-based, it's like relationships. That's your biggest thing, just protecting, right? That's the only thing that's protecting you, right? This time element. Before, during, after. We'll use those 3 time frames as reference. Where does it occur? Consent. Before, during, after. Any, all, each, which? All. Agree? Okay. Disagree? Okay. Hard topic to discuss. Why? Because I disagree. Why? This one. I don't think that one matters. I don't think after the fact matters at all. Am I wrong?
Yes, and that's the best way would be consent, it'd be like reassurance.
Yeah. Yeah, you got that aspect of it.
Because that's also something that.
Ooh. I keep using this word right here. Vulnerable. How much vulnerability pervades this entire topic? Just talking with you. Is this dangerous? Goddamn right it is, right? Am I gonna talk to you about this? Yes. Right? Okay. In terms of vulnerability, you have everything associated with the act itself, you have everything associated with people that are engaging in it. All sides, every direction, everything you think about, everything vulnerable. Right? Time. Questions about the after. What kinds of things can affect after? Okay. Can there be negotiations involved in this topic? Engaging in a behavior requires multiple people to engage in. I would think that there is some type of consent here, right? This is going to be based off of negotiations. How descriptive are you comfortable talking about it? Right? It's like probably the best advice I've ever heard about this is if you don't feel comfortable talking about it with the person you're thinking about doing it with, it's like that's a bad idea. It's like, do not pass go, do not collect $200. It's like, yeah, you don't do that. Negotiation is part of it. That's how you get here. There are aspects related to it. Maybe think about this one right here. Was it an actual relationship or was it a false relationship? Confidence game, right? Is that the same thing as this? I don't know. Right? I honestly, I don't know. Like, could it be? You have an argument here. This whole system is based off of arguments. It's this one. So we're talking about negotiations. What kinds of things are negotiated? If I were so inclined, I could pop into Google and say, I want to find a consent document for this topic. They're out there, right? You have consent, what forms does it come in? Verbal, written,
Non-verbal.
nonverbal. That's a dangerous one. Wouldn't recommend that one. I wouldn't recommend verbal. I wouldn't recommend hard written either. The hell would I do? I'll do it. Here, watch this. Okay, let's say you do want to do this right. You want to make sure that you're limiting this as much as possible. You go through and you do. You make a contract. That's what that is. That's a contract. Right? Got this issue solved, right? Exactly. Oh, you deviated from script. Okay? Maybe you're right back here. Only now they have this. Those text messages. Where you have things that are of sexual nature, indicating desires, indicating messages back and forth between. It's like, yeah, what you gave that person was now a contract, which now you've completely legalized this. How much danger is in this? More than you'll ever know. You know it's dangerous. Now you're starting to see how big it is. Now think about the advent, the technological developments, right? Any questions? Right now, we talked last time a little bit like the victimization, Violence Against Women's Act, some of that stuff. It's like, okay, that's 30 years ago. This is what's going on right now. This is where you find yourselves. Where's this going? Might want to start watching this because right now you got dangers on all sides. For a system, we're dealing with errors. We err one way or another. You could look at it as in terms of failing. You could say failure to respond. And then incorrect. There are two big issues, particularly with this one. What's our criminal justice system response if this thing happens? Okay, one, guilty person, we get them. Yay. Two, innocent person, we let them go. Yay. Three, we don't respond to that person in indicates that there's a crime. Ooh, that's not good. Four, we hold someone criminally liable for something that they didn't do. Right? Both these errors suck. They're horrible. Which one do we favor? Right now, in society, we favor this. As evidenced by that ad, it was just shown to you where they identify who the perpetrator is without any evidence whatsoever. Right? That's where we're at. Is this error better than this one? I honestly don't know. We'll not know that. That's going to determine on the size of it and how common it becomes. That's sort of like saying, how common is it for, an illegal stop and a search? It's like, it's not very common. It happens. We do steps to make sure it doesn't happen. There has to be enough of it though for certain. Same thing here, there has to be a certain enough call for us to address this stuff correctly that causes motion. That's this whole topic right here. Time immemorial, we did not recognize that as we should. We're starting to, we're moving in the right direction. But it is far, far more complex and full of danger. Okay. Penetration, gender aspects don't really apply anymore. Rape shield laws. We can talk about those. So those are the massive arguments. Most all states will have a rape shield law in it, meaning victims, alleged victims, we'll just say victims. Sexual history does not matter for this, just like the perpetrator's criminal history does not matter for this. However, if I am a lawyer and I'm working on arguments and evidence, if I can find a way to get that in and I'm defending somebody, that helps me. Right? Now, 30 years, number I've been running with, we'll say 30 years. There has been movement on this. What's the likelihood that in the courtroom, when it comes time for this case to actually develop, to be heard in front of a jury, the question of whether or not it was asked for will come up? How did you ask for it? Right? They can find a way to get that in, they sure as shit will. Just like the prosecution, if they can find a way to get criminal history in, they will. An argument, always an argument. All right, let's see what this says next. Statutes. Sodomy. Here we go. Domestic violence. So you got split into two different types. Multiple different types. Really, you're talking about relationships and whether or not sex is there. Right? People are twisted. We've already talked about marital rape, date rape, why that comes an issue. Think of the arguments. Okay. We're thinking about arguments. You're arguing why someone is innocent of date rape. What's your argument going to be? Aside from the it was wanted, which is, yeah, that's a nasty conversation. To what degree is consent implied? Right? You've chosen to spend time with this person. Consent to spend some degree of interaction with them. Add in context. Where are you at? What are you doing? Is there an argument to be made there? They will make it. Child abuse. What do I want to tell you? We'll get in the statutes in a second. What I'll tell you about that. We'll start with the statutory rape. When someone says statutory rape, what are they talking about? Yeah. That time comes back up again, age. Right? Depending on how the statutes are written, you may or may not have the ability to consent. Sex abuse and neglect. What do I want to say? I'll show you the statutes. Okay. Assault and battery, there's domestic abuse here. This kind of gives you an idea for how long it is. A, B, C, D, E, G. I skipped over that one. And it goes to P. And then there's another one related to if there's prior patterns of physical abuse, all of those things. attendant circumstances, aggravating factors, those types of things. The more of those you can establish, the more crimes you can subject with, the more likely you are to put them away for a longer period of time. Okay. Left. Yeah, you know what that one is. Those are hard topics, and we're already in hard topic. We only have 7 minutes left. Adults, yeah, we do it to all people. We'll stop there, I think. We'll just leave it at that time. Do you guys have any questions, any thoughts? I'll tell you a little bit more and then, what, 3 minutes, whatever. Historically, how we handled this, it's not good, right? You want to talk about criminal justice side, whether you want to talk about the social side, still not good. It's like, how many generations are we away from arranged marriages? Yeah, only been a couple. It's like, that's how recent this is. That's how new this is. It's like, think about it this way. It's like, think about sexual behavior. Sexual behavior is the, I wouldn't say ultimate goal, but it's one of the final ones in establishing relationships. Historically, we used to handle it by not even letting the parties who are involved decide. It's like, yeah, that's probably not the best way to handle that. Now we're doing all this. Good luck. That's a very, very dangerous topic, a very dangerous thing. My advice to you, I wouldn't do it. Wow. Yeah. It's just so dangerous. And the communication thing is the other aspect of it, because think about the fact that you're being recorded all the time. Think about your images, stuff like that. It's like, one that this doesn't really address so much. So, video recordings, revenge, that kind of stuff. What do you do if that happens? You find all of a sudden it's like, this very private area of my life has now been posted out on the internet in very public places. How do you get it taken down? Yeah.
There are some like organizations that deal with that you can contact.
Yeah, there are some
Yeah, but-
organizations that will lobby on your behalf. Usually what we end up doing is you have to go and get yourself copyrighted. Get a copyright claim. That kind of shit. We're gonna wind back 10 years. Was that an issue? Not really. 20 years, certainly not. Right? That's where this is going. It's just gonna get more and more complex, more and more dangerous. If I were in your positions now, what I would do is I'd focus on stable relationships and grow those over the next few decades of your life. Then this vulnerability, well, absent is as close as it's gonna get. We literally regulate everything from murder to literal human contact. That's how much this system is involved in your daily lives. Keep that in mind as you move forward. With that, I don't think I have anything else to say about this topic for today. We'll switch topics next class. Informative? Trying to identify dangers. There's a lot of them. I worry for you. I really do. With that, I will see you all next class. Have a good one.
Yeah,
You're not bleeding all over, are you?
no, just a little bit.
Okay. Well, it didn't look arterial. I didn't see any spraying. That would have made for a fun class though. That's why we don't do weapons demonstration in my class. All right, well, I'll catch you guys later. Bye.